Happy Thursday, Glitter Gang. How are you all doing? I hope you all had a great National Scrapbook Day / weekend, National Scrapbook Weekend. We started on National Scrapbook Day, we started Project X, and we're going to be continuing Project X today. So what we did, these videos are on YouTube and they're in the archives. We made insert 1, which is this one, and insert 2, which is this one. All the measurements are given in the videos, so you absolutely can go through and make your own. Absolutely, you can go through and make your own. So what we're going to do today is we're going to decorate these inserts and the wrapper with the paper phenomenon Remember the Magic paper. So we're going to make a theme park remembrance album, and I'm actually think we should start with, I have everything out to start with the inserts, but I'm gonna start, I think we should start with the with the wrapper, because we're gonna have to use liquid glue and let it dry and all that jazz. So goodbye, spine. It was nice knowing you. All right, so here we go. I'm not going to start with the insert. I'm going to start with the wrapper. So again, if you want to know how to make this, check the Project X playlist on my YouTube channel, or it's in the archives as well. So what we have is we have 3 different size flaps. This one's the biggest, then this one, then this one's the smallest. All right. And we're going to use, on the biggest and the second biggest is where the inserts go. So insert 1 goes on the center panel, and insert 2 goes on the bigger of the 2 side panels. All right, which means that this one is the cover flap. All right, so that when we close it, it goes like this and like this. And just so I don't forget, I'm just gonna write that this is the cover. This is the cover. Okay. So this is the smallest one. It's the smallest one that's the cover. And what I'm envisioning is that we're gonna put snaps right here and right here. Somehow we're gonna put snaps on the cover, and we're gonna get it all lined up. So a couple things I want to do that are just quality of life things is I'm going to get my scoreboard, and we're going to make some scores in the cover piece. All right, so what I'm going to do is I am going to put, and it's hard to see this because it's black on black, but if you recall, in the video on making the wrapper, I put a piece of cardstock on the wrapper. I'm lining the edge of the cardstock up with the edge of my scoreboard, and then I'm going to score on the last line. I'm going to score on the last line. Score on the last line. And then I'm going to score backwards every 1/8 of an inch. And this is just gonna kind of help the KRAFT-TEX flex. Help the KRAFT-TEX flex. All right. So now we have made, let's see if I can get this so you can see them. Let me just bend it. Nope. Nope. Well, you can kind of see it here on the inside. There you go. So they all have this little sort of flex. All right. This is a way for it to flex. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold on these score lines, every single one of them. And then what that's going to do is that's going to make it so that this kind of rolls. And this is going to be tough, but we'll get through it. Kind of can help to pinch along the score line to get it kind of part way there. And then burnish. And then go to the next one and pinch. Pinch along the score line. Pinch, pinch, pinch. I have tried, Barbara Jean says, could you just lay it over the edge of your table and fold it that way? I have tried using straight edges to fold it like over the edge of the table or over a ruler or something like that. And it works sometimes and doesn't work other times. So I find that rather than messing around with something that works for me some of the time, I just do the pinching because I know it's always going to work even if it's a bit tedious. Now, that may be a technique thing. You may do better and you may want to try it. You know, go ahead. Because just because something only works for me some of the time doesn't mean it won't work for you. But yeah, I've tried getting it to bend over a ruler and stuff like that, and it just doesn't want to do it. It just wants to be a punk. Oh, this one is really raggedy, so I'm just going to skip it. And get the last one. The last one I'm going to fold back away because of that raggedy one. And then I'm gonna fold it forward. And you wanna, you know, when you do this, there we go, there we go, there we go. All right, so what that's done is this is now really flexible, see? So you get it where it wants to roll instead of trying to fold. That's what we want. We just want it so that it's kind of ready to roll, ready to roll. And then we're gonna do it again. Yeah, yeah. And it's gonna be the same deal. I'm gonna put the cardstock on the edge of my scoreboard and then score every 1/8 of an inch. Oops. Try to put enough pressure that you don't jump out of your track like I just did. All right. Then I'm in there. And now we're gonna do it again. And I'm gonna start with the first one this time, and I'm gonna score it one way, and then I'm going to turn it around and and score it the other way. And then I'm going to do the one next to the other side, same thing. You can cover cardstock with Tyvek. It will not be as strong, and it won't have that leather look that KRAFT-TEX has, but it should be pretty sturdy, and it should work just fine. So, all right, so now we've got, you know, the two sides. We just need to start bending the rest. Okay, so I'm gonna recommend a movie to you. If you haven't seen it, it's on Hulu. It's called Blinded by the Light, and it's based on the memoir of a British and Pakistani journalist who had this really sort of strong emotional connection to the music of Bruce Springsteen when he was in college, and how that kind of informed like him feeling like he could, well, achieve his dreams and get out of his small factory town and maybe be a writer and that sort of thing. It's really good. It's by the people who did Bend It Like Beckham. So if you liked Bend It Like Beckham, you'll probably like Blinded by the Light. And it is based on a book. So if you want to read the journalist's memoir about, you know, all of this, I think it's Notes from Bury Park. And let me check. So like I said, the movie is called Blinded by the Light, and the book is called Greetings from Bury Park by Sarfraz Manzoor. But it's really funny, and I mean, it's also serious. Like, it's a person's life, so there are funny moments and serious moments. But it's just so funny how he first hears Bruce Springsteen and, you know, how he identifies with it. And it makes me think a lot of how music, and that can be really, like, you don't have to belong to necessarily the culture or the country or whatever that the songwriter comes from, you know, to understand the emotion of what they're writing about and to know exactly what they're talking about. And an example I'll give of that is Ed Sheeran's Castle on the Hill song, which is about growing up in a small town, specifically, and driving around really fast on country roads, and just kind of that experience of being a teenager in a small town. Obviously, this is a song about UK country towns or Irish country towns. I don't know exactly where he's from, because there's a castle on a hill they go to. But it exactly mimics or mirrors my college experience. I went to college in a really small town, and we would drive really, really fast on country roads all the time. Like, I've driven 100 miles an hour on a country road. Very unsafe. Don't do it. As I've mentioned before, college students are complete morons. So, but like, you know, that song immediately makes me think of that time in my life. And I feel like he and I are having this exact same experience, even though we're talking about, you know, different countries thousands of miles away. So I think that's one of the things about music that's so interesting. And that's what this movie Blinded by the Light is like about in a lot of ways. Okay, so we've got the covers all bent. So now what we need to do is we need to turn them into a cover. So the first question we need to ask ourselves is, what shape do we want the flap to be? And I think maybe we'll cut off the two corners at like a 45-degree angle, and we'll do it 2 inches. 2 inches. So what I'm going to do is with a pencil, I'm going to make marks 2 inches in from the top and 2 inches in from each side. And then I'm going to connect this line and this line. So that's going to make a cut off a 2-inch corner. All right, so now I'm going to take my scissors and cut that off. And then I'm going to erase the edges. And KRAFT-TEX doesn't erase very well, so I'm just going to do my best. M.A. Couture says that it never occurred to her to use her quilting rulers for paper crafting. They work great. I only use quilting rulers for paper crafting. The only non-quilting ruler I have for paper crafting really is my centering ruler, which is from Fiskars. Now I have Castle on a Hill stuck in my head. Just figures. I should know better than to bring up music. And then now you could use a 45-degree angle on your ruler to do this, but the reason I'm showing you making a square is if you don't have a quilting ruler, you don't know how to cut 45-degree angles. This is how you do it. You make a square and you cut it in half, and that's 45 degrees. No, do not suggest me a new song. I'd rather have Castle on a Hill stuck in my head than a lot of other songs, to be fair. And I've had Blinded by the Light stuck in my head for 2 days because we watched the movie. So even though I will say that Blinded by the Light is not the song that you hear the most necessarily in the film, even though that's the titular song. Okay, so now we have this kind of this flap, which is a lot nicer. But it's, and that's where we can put, we can put our snaps. Now snaps have to go through your pattern paper. Otherwise your pattern paper will go over the snap and make a hump. So now I need to decorate this flap. So I'm going to measure this flap because I don't remember what it is at this point. Okay, so Ella said, I started reading Double Whammy and so far I like it. Skink is something else. Well, if you like Skink, I think there's like, it's the Double Whammy's #1 in the Skink series, and I think there's like 8 or 9 of them or something like that. Okay, so it's about 7. So I can do 6 3/4 by, this whole thing is 11 1/2, right? Okay. So 6 3/4 by 11 1/4, or well, 11 1/4 by 6 3/4 is how big we need to make our pattern paper. So I'm going to go get the pattern paper for the collection. And we'll pick a piece for the cover. Double whammy is almost certainly going to be, well, you know, double whammy essentially is the selection for May Double Whammy by Carl Hiaasen or Hiaasen. So I'm thinking for this, we could put this one here in the on the bottom, and this we would have this Believe in the Whimsy and Wonder would be on the bottom. So we were just now looking for something, you know, to be the flap to go over like so. Priya said, it took me a few minutes to get into the book because I know nothing about fishing, but I quickly realized that that just didn't matter. Yeah, I don't think, like you, the book is absurd. I mean, the messages are important. I think that's what is so interesting about satirical works is often what they're talking about is so very serious, but they're talking about it in such an unserious manner that I think you're able to better absorb the message of the author just because it's so stupid. I mean, it's just because you're not on guard against it, right? Like when you're reading a serious novel, like there's a part of you that's like kind of ready for the ideas or whatever, and it doesn't really take you by surprise. You often like know what the author thinks about something pretty much right away. And so, you know, satire has a way of getting you without you noticing. Dun, 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 dun. It can kind of, you know, you're not on guard against it necessarily. And when the author's making fun of stuff, you know, you're okay with it. Like you can see what's absurd about even your own position on something when a talented writer with a talented satirical writer. So it's very interesting, I think. All right. I pretty much decided that we're either going to do the red circles or we're going to do the yellow star or the multicolored stars. Now this tag is multicolored stars, so that will tie them together really well. However, this tag is these stripes, so we could go either way. I'm going to go with the red. Look at that. Okay. All right, so we need the red circles to be 8 1/4 or 11 1/4 by 6 3/4. All right. And I'm just going to sort of put this here to see. I think I want to take 1/8 of an inch off it. So I want it to be 6 5/8, not 6 3/4. I think it needs to lose a little bit more to really fit well. Yeah, that's better. And then 11 1/4 I think is fine. So now I just need to cut 2 inches off the corners. So I'm gonna do that. and I'm going to find my 45-degree angle. And I'm just going to use my mat to cut it. But again, I already showed you how to make a 2-inch square and cut it in half. So yeah, Double Whammy has twice as many votes as the next book, which is Daisy May. So, or Daisy Faye. So I think it's highly unlikely to be anything other than Double Whammy, which is fine, you know. All right, so now I should be able to just glue this down. Look at that. Okay. I'm gonna ink this in black. So let me get out my black ink pad, my black soot ink pad. Which its pad is missing, so that's cool. I wonder what I did with it. Ink. It appears to be totally gone. So that's cool. Whatever. Just for now, I'm going to use the tiny one that I have for the mini distress inks. And my black soot ink pad needs to be refilled, because of course it does. All right. Now I'm going to stick this down with perfect paper adhesive. Well, in the interest of time, should I just use Scotch Quick Dry? I'm going to use perfect paper adhesive. Do. Okay, wow. We are all right. It's in place. Man, it just stuck and grabbed. Woo. Why am I wiping with my hand? Why don't I just get a baby wipe? All right. Okay, so I am having a problem with this corner not wanting to stay stuck down. Sometimes this happens and you can kind of hold and press and it'll stick down. So there we go. All right, and then I'm gonna put this under my mat. So it's just gonna hang out under my mat for a minute. Okay, all right, no problem. So now we're gonna, if that was 6 3/4, then the other one, which is slightly longer by an inch, we needed to make 7 3/4. 7 3/4 by 11 1/4. And I'm just gonna hold it up. This is gonna be off camera, so you're not gonna see it too well. I'm just gonna hold it up to see if that works as far as size for me. And it does. Now this one I'm not gonna mess with. You can buy KRAFT-TEX at some fabric stores, like Hobby Lobby used to sell it. I know that for sure. You can also get it at Amazon. All right, so you see how we have white stitching going down one side and the other? What we're gonna do is we're gonna add white stitch lines to the other sides. Now this doesn't have to be perfect. Oh, come on, white gel pen. I need you to just work and not be a jerk face right now. I don't have time to deal with you being a punk. Come on. Come on. There we go. Come on. There we go. Nope. Ugh, white gel pens are the most dramatic pens in crafting. All right. I'm trying to make the line straight, but I'm not like getting upset when it's not, okay? And I'm gonna do 2 lines. Okay. All right, so there we go. And then I'm just gonna, you know, kind of put a couple curved ones in the corner. And then we're gonna go up here in this corner too. I'm gonna do a couple curved ones and then we're gonna go across. My stitches are larger. I'm not worried about it. It's just so it has the vibes, you know. We're going for it to just so you can have the feeling that the white stitching goes all the way around. And again, I'm trying to make my line straight, but I'm going fast, so my line will be crooked. Of course, I want my line to be crooked. All right, but if I set out to make my line crooked, it will look like I tried to make my line crooked and not just like I drew a line and it was not perfect. Okay, so that's why I do it this way. All right. So I've got that down. And now that's done. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to ink the edges of this like normal. Hobby Lobby doesn't sell KRAFT-TEX anymore, Candy says. Yeah, you can buy KRAFT-TEX on rolls. You can buy KRAFT-TEX on bolts. I have a roll linked below in this video description on Amazon. So I have a link to it in the video description. If you're watching live and you're on a mobile device and you just see the chat below, that you need to switch off the chat to see the description, to see the link. But if you're, if you're watching the video on YouTube after the fact, then it should be right there. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to put that, I'm going to pull this out from under my desk and I'm going to glue this right here. All right. So they're going to be, this is how it's going to look. My link is currently unavailable. I see. So it's already bought. It's already sold out. Okay. Well, I tried. Okay. I tried. I tried to link it. But you can use all kinds of stuff to make a wrapper like this. You could use, like I said, you could use cardstock covered in Tyvek. You can. You could use cloth, like a nice thick cotton or something like that, something that's not stretchy. Especially if you're really familiar with fabric because of sewing, you can use fabric. Okay, Joanne has it according to Deb. You can buy the rolls at joanne.com. And you can probably get it directly from the maker, which is CT Pub. And it comes in a lot more colors than just black, white, gray, brown. It comes in red and green. Okay, so why are you being a punk? All right, so now I'm going to jam this under my mat again and just push it down. All right, I'm gonna let that sit there for a second and I'll be right back. Okie dokie. So I just switched the batteries on my microphone, and I switched my microphone's channel. So hopefully that'll make my voice go back to normal. But if it didn't, that's all I'm gonna do, because in the past when we've tried to fix that, it's sometimes causes crashing on YouTube, and has done things like take out my camera and all kinds of weird stuff. So, all right. So hopefully it's back to normal. If it's not, you know, oh well. So we shall see. If it's not back to normal, then I apologize, but YouTube has been bananas lately because of the, you know, world situation. All right. So now that I've got that, I need to make, for the underside of the cover, I need to make one. So, you know, I need to pick a paper to be the inner liner. And with that, I'm going to go with the stars. So this one I know is, instead of 6 3/4, it's 6 5/8 by 11 1/4. And we're gonna cut the corner at a 45-degree angle, except I need to cut the top corners. So I'm gonna flip it upside down, because it's the top corners that need to be cut. All right. So now we're going to ink the edges with black soot. All right, and then once we've stuck this down, then this can go over and get pressed on the other side of the room. So, and this is pretty easy, because again, all we have to do is we're just gonna glue this down. Just like this. And then we're gonna go put it under the press I made over the weekend for National Scrapbook Day, and then we're gonna work on the inserts. And then everything else is just gonna go in with tape. This is the last piece that has to get something glued in place. So. So yeah, and Double Whammy Skink is crazy because he tried to be an uncorrupt politician, essentially. So, which we can't have that. That's unacceptable. So, you know, he was essentially driven insane by trying to be an uncorrupt politician. You're already insane? Does that mean you can be a politician? I don't know if insanity is the #1 requirement of being a politician. I think it's being self-serving. So I'm not sure if you have the right kind of crazy, you know? Yeah, it's really about corruption and being totally selfish and being totally power hungry. Like those are the main requirements. It's not enough that you're just insane. You gotta have the right skill set, Barb Jean. Gotta have the right skill set. So I'm not sure if that's gonna be a career path for you, you know? All right, so now I'm putting this back under its little its gigantor press that I made for it, which is made out of all my 13 by 19 papers stacked on top of each other, and a box of dies stacked on top of another box, because it's longer than 19 inches. So. Okay. All right, so here we go. All right, so that is, the wrapper is set aside. So I'm gonna do a recording break here for the wrapper, and then in the next video, I'll be doing the decorating of insert #1. Now that the wrapper is all put together. So hang tight and I'll be right back.